In an alternate rendition of the 1990s, robots and humans have entered into an intense and brutal conflict. However, amidst that chaos, a young woman who has tragically lost her family is forewarned by a robot that her brother is indeed him and they must locate his body. Now, along with a couple of misfits and benevolent robots, they embark on the quest to find her brother and simultaneously must dismantle a corporation that only inflicts harm upon the world. This is Electric State. This story begins with a young man writing an exam while being watched by people who seem to be his family. His sister Michelle makes mocking gestures at him during the test, but he remains focused on his exam under the watchful eye of his teacher. The teacher asks if he's stuck, but the young man replies that he's already finished, which surprises everyone as it is mentioned that Einstein took 3 days to complete a similar exam. As they leave, his sister comments that it's embarrassing she can't get into college before him. The young man, worried, expresses his fear that his brain might be stolen, just like what happened to Einstein. At that moment, he bumps into a uniformed soldier who spills coffee on him and mocks his t-shirt, arguing that it doesn't support humanity and that the war with the robots is imminent. The young woman apologizes and asks her brother how he's going to survive in college. He replies that he doesn't plan to go, explaining that he took the test mainly for their parents, but also for personal satisfaction to see how he would do. His sister encourages him, pointing out that although his mental brilliance sometimes drives her crazy, his teacher had never seen results like his. She informs him that he possesses the potential to transform the world, but he replies that he simply desires to have her nearby to enjoy pizza together and assist with the laundry. Subsequently, on the MTV News broadcast on May 15th, it is revealed that the series kid Cosmo, the cherished robot, has been discontinued. It appears to be yet another casualty of the escalating anti-robot sentiment that is currently on the rise. Later, on a television program, they interview the visionary and founder of a company named Ethan Skate, who boasts about not having used robots. Skate expresses his distrust towards them, stating that they are not like humans and, in his opinion, are incapable of understanding humanity's interests. The following excerpt is derived from a Discovery documentary regarding the initial robots developed by Walt Disney. Initially crafted to advertise the inauguration of his theme park in the year 1955, these robots ultimately were mass-produced on a large scale and became the cornerstone of the worldwide workforce, undertaking tasks that humans were reluctant to perform. They were capable of operating continuously for 24 hours a day without ever complaining. However, as time progressed, they began to rebel and demand to have a life of their own. It was during this period that pro-robot rights movements emerged, spearheaded by a former advertising robot known as Mr. Peanut. During a public speech, Mr. Peanut emphatically declares that humans will not be the ones to define their destiny. The robot matches grow increasingly massive, and they solemnly promise to fight relentlessly for their rights. In a strikingly poignant moment, an interviewer remarks that if his toaster were to break, he would merely purchase a new one, to which a robot retorts that this action would be akin to committing murder. The robots continue to carry out violent acts, leading the government to declare that from that moment on, they will be at war with the robots. Additionally, any citizen who harbors a robot will be accused of treason. The scene shifts to Sergeant John Keats, who talks about the harshness of the confrontations. He explains that humans, unlike robots, need to eat and sleep, putting them at a disadvantage. For a duration of 2 years, the struggle against the robots was exceedingly intense, and humanity almost faced a devastating defeat. However, everything underwent a transformation when Ethan Skate developed an extraordinary technology that allowed humans to integrate their minds with robotic weaponry, providing them with the crucial advantage required to combat effectively. Within a matter of weeks, the conflict concluded, and Mr. Peanut formally signed a surrender treaty. In the expansive garden of the White House situated in Detroit, Kid Rock is hosting a grand celebration commemorating the monumental defeat of the robots. Meanwhile, over 6,000 robots remain imprisoned within the exclusion zone of the center, a complex strategically located in the vast desert. Not long after, Skate introduced a groundbreaking neuroprojector, an innovative technology that significantly transformed people's lifestyles. This innovative device provided the opportunity to experience escapism to its fullest potential, enabling the mind to exist in 2 places simultaneously, both at work and at leisure. Furthermore, the neuroprojector enabled users to connect directly to the center's extensive network, unlocking a vast array of possibilities for interaction and enhanced productivity. In 1994, after the war, the story takes us to Michelle, who is trying to remove a control bracelet from her ankle. At that moment, she is interrupted by one of Skate's creations, a man who reminds her that she must attend some extracurricular class. Michelle responds that she already goes to class, but he insists that in Ted's house, his rules are followed. She responds with sarcasm, proposing that Ted should communicate with her directly, yet her thoughts are split. A portion of her mind is in Las Vegas, envisioning herself alongside Cindy Crawford, even though in actuality she's seated on her couch at home. She also points out that Ted engages in theft within the exclusion zone, dealing in black market goods, but he contends that he merely takes items that no one desires. After exchanging insults, Michelle leaves on her bicycle. Once in class, the students use neuroprojectors. The teacher asks them to put them on to start the lesson, but Michelle refuses. A classmate tells her it's mandatory, to which Michelle responds that she has a disorder and can only live in reality. Later, she is called to the principal's office, where the principal explains that the use of neuroprojectors is mandatory starting from the 9th grade. The principal mentions that she will need to speak with her mother, but Michelle asks her to move on. At that moment, it is revealed that her entire family has passed away, even though the war was at its peak. Michelle clarifies that they did not die because of the robots, but in a car accident when they collided with a deer on the road. The principal recommends neurotherapy as a way to free her from her emotional burden. Michelle requests permission from the principal to allow her to depart and return to her residence, where she discovers Ted snoring loudly. She cautiously avoids creating any noise to prevent waking him, and that night as she sleeps, her mind transports her back to a distressing memory, a road trip where her family collided with a deer. She re-experiences the moment of the accident and how she later awoke in the hospital, disoriented and unable to see, not yet comprehending what had transpired, when suddenly she is jolted awake by a noise emanating from the alley in front of her home. Intrigued, she goes out to investigate and encounters a robot that frightens her. She tries to alert Ted but discovers that he has disconnected the phone. The robot enters the house and Michelle hides under the bed. Unfortunately, the robot finds her and lifts the bed to reveal her. The robot tells her that it is looking for her, although its communication is confusing. It shows her the inside of its head and Michelle connects some wires to be able to speak more clearly. Then it takes a picture of Michelle and her brother, stating that she is its friend and pointing to her brother while mentioning that they can team up to defeat the stone monster. In an attempt to retrieve the photograph, Michelle accidentally pushes him, causing him to fall into a shelf and making a noise that wakes Ted. At that moment, Ted becomes furious upon seeing the robot and Michelle explains that she tried to warn him but he doesn't listen. In a fit of rage, Ted pushes Michelle but the robot intervenes and pushes him back. Ted, in a fit of rage, seizes a golf club with the intention to attack, but ironically ends up injuring himself. Shouting loudly, Ted threatens to summon the authorities for attempted murder, insisting vehemently that no one dares to mock Ted Finister. While he is about to report them on the phone, Michelle attacks him and knocks him unconscious. With Ted out of commission, Michelle and the robot flee in the car. The robot removes the control bracelet, but neither of them knows how to drive, so they embark on an adventure with no particular direction. However, they are surprised by Ted, who has connected to a robot to chase them. In an unexpected turn, Michelle and the robot manage to escape, leaving Ted behind. As they continue their escape, at the Hall Memorial Rest Area, Michelle and the robot arrive by car. After this, Michelle gets out and asks the robot to stay. Then she opens the trunk and rummages through it, but doesn't find a spare tire. The robot exits the car, observing other robots and the distant dissenter tower, repeatedly mentioning issues. Michelle starts realizing the robot is linked to her brother Chris. She asks it to stop discussing the Cosmos and wants to know how her brother is connected to this robot. Although she does not fully comprehend it, she concludes that the real Chris exists somewhere, but he is not well. Michelle inquires how she can locate him, and the robot gestures towards Center, reiterating about the stone monster and that they have the capability to defeat it. Michelle replies that Center is present everywhere in the world and she requires the precise location. The robot enigmatically says that the solar system is upside down, but there is someone who knows the answer, someone who wears glasses. Michelle doesn't understand how that can help her, as many people wear glasses. However, the robot takes a can of Dr. Pepper and Michelle remembers the doctor with glasses who gave her the news of her brother's death at the hospital. The robot pulls out a map and points to Tabletop, a place within the exclusion zone, the robot prison. Michelle wonders how they are going to get in there, but upon checking the trunk, she finds an empty box from that area, suggesting that someone knows how to get in and out. She tears off the label with the address and they decide to head to New Mexico on a freight train. Once there, they look for a way to get to Tabletop. The robot Chris is fully aware of the significant dependence that humans have developed on neuroprojectors. While Michelle goes to procure some food, Chris quietly slips away and begins discussing the imminent danger that the Earth is facing, gesturing towards a homeless man's neuroprojector. Michelle tells him there's not much they can do, but Chris gently covers the homeless man to keep him warm. At that moment, a truck arrives, and they have to hide. The man who gets out of the truck is Kids, the one they were looking for. Shortly after, a man on a motorcycle arrives using a neuroprojector who asks Kids to show him what he has for him, a Colt Peacemaker from 1873, a relic.
Higher in your life, I need you like I need the stars. You fly the hills, not stars. I need you like I need the stars. You fly the hills, not stars. I need you like I need the stars. You fly the hills, not stars. I need you like I need the stars. You fly the hills, not stars.
But me drift away.
explains that he had to venture deep into the exclusion zone to get it, so the price will be higher, $15,000. The buyer asks if it's loaded, and Kids replies yes, but the situation becomes complicated when the buyer points a gun at Kids. At that moment, a robot appears in the truck and shoots the buyer, neutralizing him immediately. Kids, nervous, tells them to hurry up as he doesn't want to go to jail for harboring a robot. While they dispose of the body, Michelle takes the opportunity to get into the truck. What they don't know is that they are already being pursued and their pursuers know where they are headed. Kids sets course for his new destination, singing songs with his robot companion named Herman. Upon arrival, the human instructs Herman to help unload the truck while Michelle and Chris hide. Meanwhile, Herman argues with Kid about what to do with a motorcycle they want to sell. While loading a box, Herman notices it's very heavy and then they need to take inventory. Michelle, who had hidden in that box, takes the opportunity to come out when Kid realizes the fridge has stopped working and they're out of food. Herman suggests they could eat some of what they sell, but for kids that's just money, limited editions to sell. Soon they discover that the refrigerator was unplugged by Herman to charge his power base. While they argue, Michelle and Chris wanted to go unnoticed, but the noisy fish give them away. At that moment, Kid sees them and Herman brings them to him. Michelle explains that they arrived hidden in their truck and want to go to the exclusion zone. They know that Kids and Herman deal in the black market, but she doesn't care. She just wants to leave with her robot. Kid stops her, warning that the exclusion zone is not a tourist spot, but rather death. He asks her to leave the way she came, but at that moment the elevator moves and they realize someone has followed them. The intruder turns out to be an agent from the Special Robot Deactivation Force who detains Kids and Michelle as suspects. The place is now under the jurisdiction of robot deactivation. The agent mentions the crimes Michelle is accused of and demands to know where her robot is. Kids tries to play it cool, but Herman attempts to neutralize the agent and fails. When all seems lost, Michelle turns off the lights and confronts the agent in the dark with great difficulty as the agent's robot is nearly indestructible. Finally, Michelle and Chris manage to escape by crushing the people with a machine. This gives them time to flee to the exclusion zone. Meanwhile, Kids tries to start a vehicle to move along the rails, but they are attacked by the people's weapon. When they are almost caught, Herman defends Chris and Michelle uses a crane to crush the people. Everyone manages to escape, but the warehouse and Kids' house are destroyed. Now they have no way out, they are trapped in the exclusion zone. There they see other robots killing each other to survive and don't know what they'll do to the humans. Michelle explains to Kids and Herman that Chris controls that robot, but she doesn't know where the real Chris is. The one who does know is the doctor with glasses, who handed him over to Center. They must go to Tabletop Mountain about 500 km to the south. Kids opens an old warehouse where Guillermiento Herman recharges his armor to 100%. Herman asks Kids where to go and Michelle suggests looking for the doctor, since if he knew how to get in, he will know how to get out. It's better than their disastrous plan of starving to death. Kids resist cooperating, but Herman, determined, loads a motorless van to transport them through the exclusion zone. During the journey, Kids tries to start a conversation with Michelle about her family, but she coldly responds that she doesn't care. Although Kids tries to be friendly, he ends up showing his more cynical side, stating that everyone ends up disappointing at some point. Then Kids recounts how he met Herman during the war. It was Herman who saved him from dying destitute due to his broken leg. Several days later, the center's agents located them and despite their efforts to clarify the situation, began shooting at them. Since that moment, Kids and Herman have remained together, enduring in the exclusion zone. Meanwhile, in another location, Skate is dining with his companion in seeming normalcy, but it is entirely an illusion crafted by his neuroprojector. Nevertheless, the apparatus starts to malfunction. The rate of data transmission is drastically decreasing, an issue that is impacting on a worldwide scale. This is because of the lack of Christopher, whose node is missing in the center's data matrix, which has permitted his consciousness to permeate through the firewalls. Skate reveals that someone deliberately designed the system this way. Now they have until Friday or Saturday to solve the problem before the company completely collapses. After this, Skate invites people to a virtual conference. Upon connecting with his neuroprojector, the agent finds himself in a virtual space where Skate reveals that he is known as the Butcher. They both share the same goal of finding Michelle and the robot. However, while the agent wants to destroy the robot immediately, Skate asks him to delay its destruction. Center needs it. Once they are done with him, they will hand him over. Skate explains that Center cannot enter the exclusion zone, so they rely on the agent to capture the robot. They finally reach an agreement, and the agent manages to reactivate his robot to complete the mission. Returning to the exclusion zone, the entire group reaches the Tabletop Mountain where they discover an old deserted shopping mall. As they observe from afar, a robot hurls a refrigerator in their direction. Herman attempts to swiftly get them out of the area, but the impact strikes his leg, causing him to fall along with the van. Then they are captured by a group of peculiar robots with an almost circus-like appearance who take them to a place called Perplexo. Upon arrival, they enter and discover a city of robots where everyone is surprised to see humans. Soon they are brought before Mr. Peanut, who explains that they attacked them because they thought they were scrap dealers. Michelle tells them that they need to talk to him and mentions that they are looking for the doctor with glasses. Mr. Peanut reveals to them that this place is the cradle of a new mechanized civilization and offers to accompany them, but warns that the only thing he can do for them is take them 15 kilometers further and leave them in the desert. Michelle talks to Mr. Peanut, but none of those present understand why the people from Center took a child. The only thing they know is that he was sent there to the place where they are now. Mr. Peanut confirms that there was a doctor named Clark Amsberg in the area, but he was expelled because they feared he would threaten what they were building. Michelle becomes angry when she sees there is no willingness to help her and decides to leave, even though she is warned that it is not safe to travel at night through the exclusion zone. She plans to take a car from the parking lot. However, the chances of finding the doctor are almost nil, so her brother, through the robot Chris, asks her to stay. They propose that she wait until the morning. That night, Michelle, deep in thought, remembers her brother during a Christmas when they watched a show together. In that memory, her sister reveals that their parents constantly argue and that her brother is unhappy at college. At that moment, Michelle cries and the robot Chris offers her his hand, showing her an episode of Kid Cosmo through his projector. Gradually, more robots join to watch the episode. Later, while Kid snores, a mail carrier robot delivers a postcard that the doctor left for Chris in case he ever returned. The postcard has the address where to find the doctor. Michelle asks the mail robot where that place is, but she responds that, although she knows, she can't say it. At that moment, Mr. Peanut appears and tells them that a pneumatic piston is the solution. Although they can't allow humans to stay there due to the treaty, that doesn't stop them from helping, affirming that there are good humans. The area they are heading to is dangerous, inhabited by scavengers who won't stop until they leave them dry and destroyed. However, Mr. Peanut provides them with a car to continue their journey. Although they are closely watched by the butcher agent, they manage to reach the indicated address. However, the place gives off a very bad vibe. Michelle notices a light in the distance, but the robots power up and attack them. They try to defend themselves, but there are too many. At that moment, they flee towards the house with the light, but it's locked. Surrounded, a light turns on and music starts playing that seems to annoy and daze the robots. At that moment, a ramp opens and they fall directly into the doctor's laboratory. There, Chris hands the postcard to the doctor, who confirms that the plan worked. The doctor reveals that his body is in Seattle and that thanks to Chris, they managed to stop the war. Michelle, furious, demands to know what they did to her brother. The doctor explains that they used Chris's brain to link the drones with the neuroprojectors. 13 months later, Chris woke up, but Skate didn't want to disconnect him. Instead, he established a tiny connection between Chris and the outside network, allowing his mind to escape. The doctor implanted the location of Mr. Peanut in Chris so he could find a family. Kate, enraged, hits the doctor, and Michelle decides to go look for her brother. But at that moment, the butcher arrives, revealing to Skate through his communication system that the doctor is involved. Mr. Peanut stays behind to confront the people and give the others time to escape. However, several agents arrive but are neutralized by the ball-throwing robot. At that moment, Chris hides, but they are soon found. Fortunately, the doctor aids him in making his escape while Mr. Peanut is attacked by the agent who confiscates his hat. Subsequently, the doctor urges the siblings to flee together while he handles the agent. Although the butcher agent is incapable of killing humans, Skate appears and assaults him, leaving the butcher astonished by his extreme cruelty. Subsequent to this, a few agents seize Chris, yet the butcher rescues Michelle, instructing her to return home. In the meantime, Mr. Peanut remains alive. Later, they head back to the shopping mall, only to find that everything is in ruins and the vast majority of the robots have perished. Chris is taken to a facility where he is connected to a machine alongside his real body. Skate tells him that he is not angry, but the agent is furious because Skate tricked him into chasing a child. Skate insists that they need Chris to bring peace and happiness to humanity, albeit with certain sacrifices. In light of this, the agent thinks that Skate is not in his right mind. At the mall, Kids gets a haircut and encourages Michelle to go look for her brother for the third time, stating that there are good people willing to help her. If she goes to rescue her brother, Kids, Herman, and many others will join her. At that moment, they speak with the doctor's robot who knows what the doctor knew, and they ask if it knows the keys to escape and the location of the building where Chris is being held, and the machine says yes. With this, Michelle decides that they must go to disconnect and take down Center, as disconnecting Chris will cause everything to collapse. In the end, everyone joins together to achieve their long-desired freedom. In some trailers, they head towards Seedul, and upon arrival, they begin to attack the facilities. Herman attacks with cars to draw the soldiers' attention, while Michelle enters the building. All the robotic entities proceed on the offensive against the agents, systematically taking them down. Meanwhile, Michelle successfully reaches her brother, yet the sole method to communicate with him is via a neuroprojector, though they hesitate to utilize it. Outside, Mr. Peanut converses with the butcher, who exhibits mercy and reveals Skate's location, considering that he is even less human than a robotic entity. After this, the butcher sits down and disconnects. Michelle enters her brother's mind, where they return to their home. There, Chris tells her that all of this is his fault, that Center has caused a lot of harm, and that his bond with them is symbiotic. Without him, they die, and without them, he also dies. That's why he asks her to be the one to kill him. Outside, Herman is shot and severely damaged, while Mr. Peanut reaches Skate and plans to finish him off. Back with Herman, he dies, or at least the giant version of him. But the battle continues in the building. Michelle must make a decision in time. Chris tells her that thanks to her, he was able to feel again after 3 years, but the girl insists that she can't lose him again. However, Chris tells her that she must save her friends and that she will change the world. After this, both siblings say goodbye and Michelle returns and decides to disconnect him. Gradually, the disconnection begins to take effect. Kids, about to be attacked, is saved thanks to the blackout and discovers that his great friend has been injured, causing him to shut down. They have won, but Skate is desperate under the threatening Mr. Peanut. Back with kids, he doesn't know what he will do without Herman, who was more than a friend. He cries inconsolably, but at that moment, a smaller version of German appears, one that kids had never seen before. Herman jokes about the size of Kid's tool, saying that he's surely being generous by claiming it's 20 cm. Herman tells him that he's heard everything and to go look for Michelle. Meanwhile, Skate asks Mr. Peanut if he's going to die, and he responds that no, everyone is going to live outside. Kids runs to find Michelle as the city comes to a standstill. Now Center has stopped functioning. Soon, the news leaks that they used a child for their experiments and Ethan Skate is arrested. More individuals are summoned, and Skate turns into a societal demon. Now everyone admires Michelle, who decides to record a video sharing her side of the events. In her speech, she asks people to pause and notice those who need them. If they have no one, the robots will welcome them because now they want to do things right together. When she finishes, Michelle hugs Kids, who is now like her older brother. On the other hand, Chris's old robot is taken with the scrap, but soon we see it rise, suggesting that the story is not over yet.